right, so we have 40 minutes before it kicks us off.
Okay, let's see if we can actually get this done
in under an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind, welcome to another edition of Drive Home Reviews podcast edition.
Podcast edition.
Is that our theme song?
Yes.
Podcast edition. My voice is still recovering from being sick, so.
Yeah, you got to go into a lower register. You got to do the bass.
Podcast edition.
Very nice.
Podcast edition.
What is what am I? It's tickling my brain.
Man River.
No. Yeah, there you go.
Man River. Yeah, we're doing real good getting this in under the time limit.
Okay.
All right, so today or this evening for date night, we watched the Paramount Plus original movie Honor Society, and now we are going to discuss it. So for those who don't know, the film is about a young woman played by, I do not know how to pronounce it.
Anjali Rice.
Anjali Rice, who previously had been seen in the Tom Holland Spider-Man films very, very briefly. But she plays Honor Rose, get the fun pun character name, who is in her senior year and is desperate to escape the small town she's in. And as such, she's hatched a plan to weasel the one and only
Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
Say what?
The guidance counselor.
Yeah, she's trying to weasel a recommendation to Harvard out of him. There's 4 other competitors. She sets out on a plan to sabotage the other 3 and learns life lessons, lives, laughs, and loves, and
all along the way.
So that's the general plot. And of course, the trailer gives you this kind of an impression of what the film's going to be. That one of the guys that she's trying to con is Stranger Things Dustin.
Gatton Matazzaro.
You're so much better with names than I am. I butcher these poor people's names on a daily basis. You are so much. Thank God you're here.
Oh, well, I'm glad I served some purpose.
You serve many a purpose, and you know it. As Dustin, essentially, is basically who he's playing.
Yeah, like nerdy kind of, maybe a little less charming than Dustin.
Yeah. I don't find Dustin that charming, to be honest.
I think he's charming. I think he's kind of like, I don't know. I have a weakness for exuberant, theatrical, dramatic, curly-headed, nerdy men. What can I say?
I mean, if it's a type that works for you. But he plays one of the folks that she is attempting to sabotage. And of course, in pretending to fall in love with him, she falls in love with him for real, and emotions happen.
Every teen movie from the 90s.
With that in mind, before we get too deep into this, I think one thing we do have to say is we are going to have to talk spoilers for this one, because this isn't one of those ones where we can avoid the spoiler if we're going to be talking about thematic elements and the way the story is told, character evolution. So be aware, we're going to ruin the ending. So just be okay.
Which, I mean, I don't think there's many people who's going to be surprised by the ending. Like, I don't know. I feel like it broadcast it pretty well, but I don't know, Anyways, as we go. As we go.
Yeah, so just be aware. So, what are your initial thoughts, baby?
I think we got about 10 minutes into the movie and I said, am I supposed to hate this girl because I hate this girl? And I think at the beginning you are supposed to hate her and you change as you go on. And she changes as it goes on. There was a lot of good things that happened in this movie. I liked a lot of the interactions that the side characters had with each other. The side characters to me were really a lot more interesting than the main characters. I think that, yeah, I think that like if I was gonna say, hey, what was really great about this movie? The side characters were really great about this movie, you know?
Yeah, I think this movie has a lot of good things going for it. I think first of all, like I say, I think the characters are all fairly interesting and fairly well done. Stylistically, I'll preface by saying that because this is a stylized film.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely has like it's a take on high school as if it were the movie with Tracy Flick. You know which one I'm talking about?
I do not.
Election.
Okay.
Election. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that kind of stylized high
Yeah.
school movie.
Where Honor breaks the fourth wall repeatedly, talks directly to the audience.
Hmm.
The characters are painted in a very broad way. You can kind of recognize the archetype, and that's all done purposefully because as the film goes and as she interacts more with the people, we see that the archetype kind of fall away a little bit and real characters being underneath.
Right. It does a really good job of turning tropes on their head, I would say.
Yeah, and I think doing it through her perspective because the way they act in the beginning of the film is how she perceives them.
Right. And
You
then
know?
they do start to see more, like they do open up more. And I know it sounds from right like as I'm talking about, it sounds like I don't like the movie, and that's not it at all. It's not that I don't like the movie. I think that there's some tropes that it falls into, some traps. I'm not even gonna say tropes, I'm gonna say traps that it falls into as a high school movie that have a lot of issues. But it also did really good with some things. Like for example, her two best friends in a traditional high school movie, they're going to be like end up being totally witchy, and just be horrible. And they're really not like that. They're really nice girls who really like her a lot.
Yeah, like they're portrayed at the beginning as the kind of vapid, selfie taking, you
Hmm.
know, fashionista obsessed kind of thing. And like I say, in a normal movie like Mean Girls, you'd
Right.
expect them to be that, but no, they're hanging out with her because they actually like her.
Right. Right.
Um,
And like the Jock Lacrosse character, who at the beginning you expect that she's going to kind of end up with, or that's the one, that she really has a crush on, but turns out that he's gay, you know, and she ends up setting him up with a different person.
but yeah, she ends up setting him up with the stereotypical gay head of the theater department of the theater club.
Right. And even with that, they kind of turn tropes on their head too, because, you know, he's never portrayed as super effeminate because, like, I mean, the theater club kid is very flamboyant, but the jock boy doesn't ever change to become effeminate.
Yeah,
She doesn't out him, you know, and when he does like confront his lacrosse coach dad, like he has a different reaction than you expect from him.
probably one of the best parts of the movie. I know that was a part you really enjoyed. It was a part I
I
really
did.
enjoyed, where they build it up relying very heavily again on uh,
Tropes.
visual shorthand because the kid
Yeah.
playing Jack Lacrosse there. I mean, he looks a lot like one of the kids from High School Musical.
I mean, so much so that we looked him up because we're like,
Yeah,
there's no way he's too old. Like
I
Corbin Blue
knew,
would
but
be
he
too
still looked
old.
like him. And they were playing the same story of, oh, he's the jock, but he wants to be in the theater and he has a coach dad. They're really leaning hard on it. They're relying on the familiarity with that kind of property, and yeah, and so they're building it up of Jack Lacrosse. That's not his real name, obviously. Um, being afraid of coming out to his dad, and when it happens, it's probably the best reaction in the movie,
Oh yeah, for sure.
where his
You
dad
know?
literally just like, "Yeah, I know you're gay. I've known you're gay since you were 5."
This girl's the idiot for not knowing. Yeah.
Yeah, like that reminded me. It reminded me of like the only good part of that show, Glee,
Right,
with
where yeah,
Kirk and his dad. And I remember that episode where he's like, "Dad, I'm gay." He's like, "Yeah, I know."
yeah, which I mean, even more so, I think he was even more so accepting than Kirk's dad, like I
Yeah,
think it was just like, yeah, just stop being late for practice,
yeah. And like,
you know?
what's interesting about that, if, just in terms of LGBTQ representation, is that the whole school was just like, "Oh, okay." Like it
Right,
wasn't a big deal. No one cared.
right,
Like
right,
everyone was just kind of like, "Okay, that's a thing."
right. I mean, they were planning to put on Spring Awakening, which
Yes,
is
we're gonna get into that here in a second because that's we
um,
get into the
well,
things we hate about this movie.
and then it's not like there was like a little discussion about, the geek girl Kennedy, like maybe getting her a boyfriend, but then instead of like doing that, she really helped her kind of pursue her passion of, writing and theater
Yeah,
and whatnot,
and actually got her friends, not necessarily a romantic relationship, but got her
friends,
friendship.
right?
You know,
Which I really like. I think that it's a little bit, it's getting a little bit better, but you just don't see enough girl friendships in high school that are
yeah,
healthy, you
yeah.
know?
You don't see that portrayed very often. You're right. So
It's a,
so the
yeah.
characters are fairly good. I also think the performances are pretty good.
I would say so too.
I think young Miss what's the actress,
Lingerie Rice,
Andre Rice. I think she does a really good job. She's
she
got a
did.
she's got a difficult role. Like I say, it's a character that we're supposed to hate at the beginning, and then but we can't hate her so much that we
We
don't
don't
want to
want her
see
to, yeah,
her. Because a movie
win.
like this ends only one of two ways: either she becomes a better person, or she gets her comeuppance.
Right.
So since they were going the way of redemption, she couldn't be so horrible that we didn't want to see her become a better person.
What's interesting is that I feel like she kind of did get her comeuppance as well.
She
I
did.
think it kind of did both way. I think it kind of went both ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you are right. Okay, so let's just get this out so we can talk. So the twist is, are you ready for the twist?
The twist, the twist, the
Twist.
twist.
So after everything is said and done, and she has fallen in love with Dustin from Stranger Things, and decides not to sabotage his chances of getting into college, convinced that he's a foster kid living on the poor side of town. She, in fact, bombs the midterm so that he can get the scholarship. It turns out the player got played, and
Right.
he was conning her the entire time. In a way, though, she was actually still worse because he didn't set out to con her. Like when he discovered what she was doing, he just turned it on its head.
Right.
Like he was minding his own business. She's the one who initiated, and he just went okay and just kind of he played her.
I think part of my issue with that is that I don't, I think he was still worse because he had no empathy for her or anyone else around. Like, and he was like, he's kind of a sociopath a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the end, yeah, but when it all came out, yeah, he ends
Yes.
up being way worse. But I'm talking about in just terms of initiating the plan and who's using who.
Right.
Like he still was like, so it's like say she still got her comeuppance.
Yeah.
Didn't get away unpunished for the bad things that she was attempting to do.
Right. She definitely, she got her. Yeah. I think, oh gosh, this is just like it doesn't help that I have a daughter, that is this age. And I'm kind of viewing it through her perspective and what her life is, like going through at this moment. But I just like I feel like if you were to look at the bigger story arc of it and the theme of it, she's so wrapped up in her own world and she's so wrapped up in her own stuff that she doesn't realize what's going on around her. Like there's this very odd way that they played the parents. Okay. Like dad's working 3 jobs, mom makes bread all the time, but she's got this nice house, big, huge room, like she's not running out of clothes. Like, she's living a comfortable life,
Yeah.
you know? But there's not really a lot of talk about, well, I'm going to need a scholarship too, or, like you feel like her parents are going to pay for her to go to college.
Well, what you also get is that, and again, this was kind of a big thing she sets up in the exposition there at the beginning, is that, again, it's not a thing if she really even cares. She's going to go to college.
Right.
She's got the grade. She's going to go. What her goal is she wants to go to Harvard, specifically for the name recognition of going to Harvard, so that her biggest fear is ending up back in the town.
Right.
Like she does it, the concept of not going to college is not really what she's afraid of. It's wanting that the connections and the social advantage that going to Harvard gives you, so that she doesn't end up back in the town eventually.
Right. And I understand that. I think with the way that they play her parents off, it's kind of emphasizing this being so wrapped up in your own little world that you don't notice why is your dad working 3 jobs? What is the point behind your mom making bread all the time?
Yeah.
What is, and she doesn't even realize she's got her favorite book is The Handmaid's Tale, and she, carries around with her everywhere. She doesn't even remember that her mom is the one who gave it to her,
Well, I think you're right, because that plays very heavily into the thematic element of it, is that, like I say, she's so wrapped up in her own stuff, like I say, she doesn't recognize, when the whole thing with Dustin from Stranger Things falls apart, and she's talking to her mom, and her mom says, yeah, I didn't trust him.
Yeah.
Like, well, why didn't you say anything? He's like, well, I kept interrupting you every time he was over. I thought you'd get the message.
Right.
And I think that's something that, again, all of this kind of being from Honor's perspective,
Right.
She, like I say, she doesn't see the people she's in school with as people.
Right. No.
She's so,
they're chess pieces.
Yeah, and she's so fixated on getting out of high school, she's not actually enjoying high school.
Right. And I think that there is like that overarching theme of coming out of her shell, actually seeing the world around her, seeing how she affects people and how they affect her. I think that is the big storyline there.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they did a good job with that. I was glad to see that they fleshed the parents out more at the end, a little bit, and her friends and the people around her. I was glad to see the interactions there. One thing I really did enjoy is that she didn't end up with a guy at the end.
Yeah.
She
ended up kind of like the other girl, Kennedy. She ended up with real friends and a real community, right. And realizing that maybe if she does end up back in the town, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Right. So yeah. Now, on to the things that they did portray badly.
Yeah, there are quite a few.
Being the worst thing in the world. Like, one of the issues that we have, because you work in high school, and I teach, and I used to teach and I work in education, is the portrayal of high schools in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not your first movie to rant about this.
Nope.
It won't be the last one.
Nope. Poor Love Simon.
I know. I was thinking of the one with the Beatles song where he's like
Yesterday. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was worse.
But let's talk. Okay, the teachers themselves, how they portray the teachers.
Yep. All teachers in these things are portrayed as idiots or people just punching the clock, sad, depressed.
Right, like they got stuck there.
Yeah.
you know, she portrays the English teacher as this person who used to be a protester, used to have all these, but I think that a lot of people who fight for social justice and do things like protest do end up going into things like education because that's where they're trying to make a difference.
Yeah, and and again, you'd be able to forgive it. Like they do it with the coach,
Uh-huh.
with Jack Lacrosse's coach dad. I think we could forgive that portrayal because if her view of the teacher changed
Right.
along with her perspective of everybody else, you can understand at the beginning of the film a student viewing a teacher that way. But she never really comes around to the other teachers in the place as, no, these people are actually trying to help me. These people care about me. These people are, they're all just idiots.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, you could feel that there was maybe a change towards them, but like it wasn't explicit
no,
or even really implicit.
yeah, and
So
okay, so I'll rant about the theater. So
go
I want to
ahead.
know. I want to know a couple things. Number
Okay.
one, number one, what fucking high school is doing Spring Awakening? What?
I,
I want to know more so than Cabaret. That's what pissed me off about Love, Simon. But what fucking high school is doing Spring Awakening?
apparently there are high schools that do it and they just change some of the lyrics of the songs.
Which you're not supposed to do.
The playwright gave permission for that.
So there is in fact a Spring Awakening Junior.
Kind of. It's just basically like they changed some of the words, but they don't really change the theme. Yeah.
I'm not even a big Spring Awakening fan, and just the thought of that makes my balls hurt.
I just
I mean, jeez. I can only assume these administrations, the administrations of those schools care even less than mine do, because like, how do you not go, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that with high schoolers?
Well, okay, you get queer kids and you put them like they're still in restrictive environments, living with their parents. Yeah, society is better than it used to be, but a lot of, I mean, as well as I do, a lot of your queer kids are not in homes that are accepting of them, and the idea of this, very queer friendly show being able to put that on it seems like freedom.
It seems like it is not realistic. But I would forgive that. I'll forgive that. But here's the thing I can't forgive, and I get so pissed about this. Ironically, this is one thing Love, Simon didn't do. That so I can give them credit. Is I hate in these movies how all of these clubs and whatnot, outside of like the sports, are always portrayed of having absolutely no fucking supervision whatsoever.
I know.
That these students just run the show. I remember thinking that with Bring It On, that cheerleading movie from the 90s. Like, where the fuck is the coach?
No,
somebody has to be overseeing these children.
Especially with this one, and you being a theater teacher, I was just like, I can't, like, I pity the poor child who thinks that they can come in and take over your rehearsal.
Yes, God help that child.
Seriously.
I'm going to direct this show. Oh, you think you are?
I mean, I am as close as a person can get to you, and I still am not allowed to give notes in your rehearsal. Okay.
That's right.
So
you don't just open up the floodgates and let the kids direct themselves. You rule that rehearsal with an iron fist.
Oh, yes, with the hydraulic throne and the
okay. They kept going on about how this. Here's what annoys me about that is they keep going on about how this town has a very high poverty rate.
Right.
Like that's like she even says it when she thinks that Dustin from Stranger Things is a foster kid. She's like, well, I don't know what he's ashamed of because being below the poverty line is not is not a stigma in this town. A lot of people are. So this is apparently not the richest area, and yet their theater department, their an auditorium is huge with a massive basement with dressing room, hydraulic stages. I work at one of the biggest high schools in the city. My theater is falling apart.
Right.
And the mere suggestion of getting new lights, I might as well be going in and asking for someone's kidney.
There were a few little things that, like Kennedy says she built the hydraulic throne herself.
That's okay. Area.
And like she said that the group, the LGBTQ group paid for the
streaming,
the stream and the setup for that, so like there are a few things like that, but yeah, no, not to the extent of the production they put on, where all of a sudden there was like 50 extra theater kids there in the performance.
But even with that goes back to the original problem of how do you get this stuff into the school without who's letting you in? What teacher is like, oh, you're building hydraulics? What is it? Okay, fine, don't worry about that. That's not going to cause a fire.
This high school was operating without a principal in any way, shape, or form. Apparently. So
I think that little note there, that brings us to the one thing I think in this movie that we both hate, and there's no forgiving. No, like this is almost a Logan Ted Mosbey moment for a character that almost ruins the entire movie.
It's so problematic in so many ways.
Yeah. So, and like I can understand actually I couldn't, but I could back when Dawson's Creek did something similar. Like it was a new shocking thing and they were trying to be edgy and shit. We are well beyond that. And if anybody so
the guidance counselor, played by McLovin himself, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, who, should just stay in his cave. Just stay in your cave.
There's a reason he has not had much of a career beyond that.
But it's the only character he can do. He's basically playing McLovin comes back as guidance counselor. He's guidance counselor. He has a thing for 17-year-old honor. And I mean, even before you get to that, the fact that they're playing him as this idiot guidance counselor who really just wants to be a musician and keeps handing out his flyers to come to a show, like, it just shows you that people who write these things don't do any research.
No.
Because a guidance counselor is not a person who has another goal of that they're going to do something else with their life. To become a guidance counselor, you have to go to school to get a master's degree. Okay, like,
which is not easy or cheap,
and you have to have spent so much time in school. Like, it's not like, oh, my music career didn't work out with my bachelor's degree in music, I'm going to go become a guidance counselor. That's not how that happens, so he's like obsessed with music and becoming a musician, and then he has this crush on a 17-year-old, blatant crush, enough that not only she notices, but so does the Gatton Matazzaro character notices that he has a crush on her.
Yeah, and nobody does a thing. It is, I can tell that they are trying. You can tell by the casting that they're thinking we're going to play up this angle for laughs, but it's not funny.
It's not, and every time it tried to be funny, it just got it made me more sick to my stomach.
Yeah, it was, because it is disgusting,
and it does happen
so much, and
instead, so she doesn't ever act on it. She uses it as a weapon, but she also, and she records it. But the problem is that she never reports it to anybody. She doesn't tell her parents. She doesn't tell the administration. Nothing happens to this man.
No, he's in there. we talked about it, that his only purpose, he has two plot purposes. One, of course, he's the guy who's given out the recommendation. He's there so that she can go to his show, run into someone trying to roofie her, steal the roofie, and then have the crisis of conscience of if she's going to use the roofie on Dustin from Stranger Things.
Right.
And then she needs the recorded conversation between her and him, the counselor, at the end, so that she can steal the recommendation from Dustin from Stranger Things and give it to Kennedy, the girl who wrote the play. So the show has a happy ending. But you didn't need any of that.
No.
You didn't. You needed him to be the one who has the recommendation. All this other stuff could have been achieved with other things in a less offensive, cringeworthy way. This is the thing in the movie that is unforgivable and is just, it's repulsive.
The problem I have with it, like if they had played it as, and now you're going to get in trouble and now you're going to go and this is not okay, if they had made it blatantly, explicitly clear that this is not okay, then maybe I could have forgiven it. But the fact that it's not, it doesn't ever say in the movie, like, that she has a way out, that she has other options, you know? It
Yeah.
makes it seem like creepy, yes, but like he still gets to keep his job. And to me, that's not okay.
Yeah. There was no thing at the end saying, yeah, Kennedy got the recommendation, she got into Harvard, and then I turned the tape into the
Right.
authorities.
No, and that's, I mean, if they would have done that, if he would have gone to jail, if he would have lost his job, good. Like, okay, but you can't market a movie to teenagers and have that kind of message that a 30-year-old hitting on a 17-year-old is okay. It's kind of time apropos because Demi Lovato just came out with the song 1729, okay, about her, alleged relationship that she had at the age of 17 with a 29-year-old. And now that she is 29, she can't imagine ever wanting to be in a relationship with a 17-year-old, And there's a lot of discussion in social media networks about how, men and women, it can be either, how they prey, people who have that significant age gap at that point in their lives, how it's a predator prey situation. And that's what this is. It's a predator prey situation.
What they try to do is they try to make it seem like it's okay because Honor always has the upper hand. She's always one step ahead of him. She's always intellectually planning ahead. So it makes it seem like she's not a victim. And
Which
she
good
is.
for her. I'm glad she has the upper hand, but yes, she is still a victim.
Yes, exactly.
And what's going to happen to the next girl who's not quite as, hasn't had karate lessons?
Who's not a freaking David Xanatos from Gargoyles planning all these elaborate, elaborate schemes.
Mother isn't giving her a book whose tagline is "Don't let the bastards get you down." That's the part, because we were sitting there and I think I feel like there was parts we both enjoyed, and I think at the end you were pretty, hey, that was pretty good, and I can't enjoy it as a movie because of that, because it left it there.
I can understand that. I get that. It's cost for me. It's going to cost it a whole letter grade.
Right. So I have a hard time with this because there were some really good parts of the movie that I liked. I like LGBTQ representation. I like nerd girl representation. I like theater kid representation. And they weren't too obnoxious theater kids,
No.
They were pretty calm theater kids. There was a lot that I really liked, but I would never have my daughters watch this movie without having a lengthy discussion about how that is illegal, creepy, manipulative behavior on the part of the guidance counselor.
Yeah. I'd agree. So yeah, so there you have it. So our meeting is running out of time unless we want to.
It is. We got a couple minutes, so let's talk letter grades.
So final grade for you for Honor Society.
I'm gonna have to go with a C.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with a C just because it could be a really good movie, but not enough people are gonna have the conversation that should be having what the conversation should be about. And so because of that, I would not recommend this to teenage friends of mine. That makes it sound creepy. To friends of mine who have teenagers, I wouldn't recommend it unless they were willing to sit down and have a discussion with their kids, sons or daughters, about that kind of predatory behavior.
Yeah, well, I agree. I'm going to be a little bit more generous, but not by much. I give it a B minus.
Okay.
Because I think the acting was really good. I really respect a lot of the directorial choices, the way the story was told. I thought very clever, and I think a nice what could potentially be star-making vehicles for some of the people involved. But I agree that that one character, that Logan Ted Mosbey character, just completely and the completely tone deaf and I don't even know what else to call it. Just completely ignorant way in which that character is handled is shocking to me. In this day and age, it's beyond shocking that anybody thought this was funny.
It feels like she gets her comeuppance, and she does. She gets a little bit of revenge for it. But in reality, like, good for you. That man needs to be in prison and away from children.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyways.
It's so yeah, it's a movie brought down so many good choices. By McLovin.
Another movie brought down by McLovin.
I mean, there's a trend here.
Oh my gosh. Yet another movie ruined by McLovin.
So maybe do what I do with the Logans of media. If you're gonna watch this movie and you're not a teenager, just sit past his scenes. You're not missing anything.
You're really not.
And if you're gonna watch it with teenagers, make sure you are discussing things with them. Because that character feels like something out of an 80s movie. That's a character that would have been okay in the 80s. People go, oh, it's so funny. No, it's not okay.
Not funny. Not okay.
Okay, so that's it. That's our review for Honor Society, and the clock is ticking down before we have to.
For our recording time is out.
I know it's
a race.
It's so weird to review with a time limit. I'm not used to that.
Anyways,
you can just start another meeting, but anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much more to say about this film.
No. Well, thanks for a good date night, my love.
Always, my beloved. It is always, any movie is a good movie if I'm watching it with you.
Oh. Yeah.
And thank you all, 5 of you, for joining us and listening in. And as always, drive safe, and we will see you at the movies.